Okay, it's going to be on record here shortly. All right. Why do you want to work for us? Give me an example of a time when you did blank. You should have 5 to 10 clear examples of how you've added value. And you don't know which ones you're going to use, but if you rehearse all of them and you can get them into short sound bites, you're going to win. The last question you may never hear in these words, but the only reason you're sitting in front of somebody or on a Zoom call or in a conference room, wherever it might be, is why should we hire you? Every opportunity that you go for, you should have at least 3 to 5 basic reasons why they should hire you, and you should have 3 to 5 backups. Okay. And Chris, it's not about whether you're hardworking, dedicated to your craft. All right. Those certainly don't hurt, but they're not the kind of quantitative things that people are looking for, especially at the level where you are. They're looking for, hey, I turned around a product launch campaign, all aspects of it with 3 people, and I managed them in 2.5 months. Okay. And I know you have many more than that. I'm just putting that one out there. So why should we hire you has to be in the front of your mind with every part of the conversation when you're in an interview. Okay. Closing the deal. What can or will you negotiate? How have you built value? Everything about your compensation offer is negotiable, no matter what they say. The only time it's not that I've found is when you're going to be a burger flipper at McDonald's. They're going to pay you 11 or 12 bucks an hour, whatever the going rate is. Okay, there's really not a whole lot of negotiation. But the key thing is how well you've built value. And one of the things about negotiation is this is not like real estate where you have a piece of property, it's a house, the buyer or the seller may make some final changes to what the building becomes before the move takes place, and they may agree on that. So there's some negotiation there, but it's really kind of minimal. Negotiation happens when you demonstrate that you can add more value. And I'll give you an example. About 8 years ago, a guy that my colleague Henry and I were both working with had a background in manufacturing, logistics, and operations. Happened to be he was interviewing with a company that was looking for all 3 of them. They were planning to pay each of those roles $150,000 each. This gentleman went in based on our recommendation and said, hey, look, pay me 200. I'll manage 2 other people at 100, save you 50 grand and save you the hassle of having to deal with 2 additional people. And you can use me as your COO. Position landed because he was able to say what additional value he could do. The Kirby story here is after my junior year of college, I didn't have an internship or a job to come home to. So a buddy of mine that I played baseball with said, why don't you come sell Kirby vacuum cleaners door to door? When we would get appointments, which was a unique way of doing it itself, but that doesn't really matter. We would walk in, there was a free rug shampoo that was offered as part of the demonstration. So you'd show every part of what the vacuum cleaner system could do, the rug shampooer, you could clean mattresses, you could clean curtains, you could clean the stairs, you could do all kinds of stuff. There were about 9 different pieces of equipment that were in this one box. So you'd go in and say, Mrs. Johnson, if you had to buy all of these separately, it would cost you $1,685. But this Kirby, this all-in-one, which is lifetime guaranteed, you can get for $595. When you build the value up of what it is that you can do, and several of you have more than several skill sets, I should say, on your resume, as they are relevant for the open position, this is what you need to be talking about. Okay? Kirby vacuum cleaner is still quite a good machine.
Oh, that's good to know.
Follow up. After you're done, I just commented on the 4 email follow-ups that my client is sending back to the company that he interviewed with this morning. It happens to be in New Jersey. But here is a tremendously interesting, I've seen this in several different places. I pulled this meme probably 10 years ago off the internet. 48% of salespeople never follow up with a prospect. 25% make 1 second contact and stop. 12% make 3 contacts and stop. Only 10% make more than 3. but 80% of sales are made on the 5th to the 12th contact. My rule of thumb is follow up until they say stop or no.
Hmm.
You are not being annoying. You might be annoying, but there are sales managers and directors that I've spoken with that say if I don't see a guy follow up with me 5 times, I know he's not going to do that with my prospective clients or customers. I want to see that level of follow up. Like he won't even respond. I mean, this is one guy that I worked with in the pharmaceutical industry. He said, I don't even respond until they follow up with me 3 times. Like he won't even, he had an admin and who would answer the phone for him. He didn't have to pick it up. This is an important thing in any part of life because rejection happens very quickly if you let it. But the fruit that comes from persistence and follow up happens when you do it. One other thing about any part of the interview process, people will smell a bad attitude like a raw onion. It's like a flat tire. You can't go anywhere until you change it. I'm not suggesting that any of you have bad attitudes, but all of us have bad moments. Just be aware of those as you're going through the process. So I'm at a point where, again, what is your moment? You know, we've talked about everything related to your career direction, your value proposition, how do you do outreach and networking. Tonight, a little bit about interviewing. Okay, I could go on for 2 hours on interviewing on its own. And I do a lot of work with any client that is part of my program to make sure that they're as prepared as they can possibly be before the interview starts. And especially if you haven't interviewed in a while or interviewed for the specific position that you may be interested in right now. So, when is or was the time where enough is enough? I know I talked about mine last night. Any of you thought about that and can point some of those things out as it may pertain to where you are right now? And if you don't want to share it in a group, that's fine too. But I'm sure you've had those moments where enough is enough and you want to act accordingly. Yasmin, go ahead.
I didn't have one in a job setting, but for sports, there I was doing track for RPI for 2 years for my sophomore and freshman year, and
Mm-hmm.
then I stopped afterwards because I knew that it was impacting my academics and it was just no longer fun or enjoyable with the way that people were acting, especially the coach was highly negative for the first season, and then for the
Mm-hmm.
second one, he realized no one was responding to his negativity, and then tried to be better, but it still wasn't a positive environment for anyone. So I was just like, enough is enough, and then I left for.
What did you do for track? What was your event or events?
I did discus, hammer were my main events, and then I also did javelin and shot put.
Okay, so
Hmm.
you probably were pretty valuable to the team, and when you left, I'm sure that wasn't well received by your teammates.
Yeah, head coach kind of wanted me back, but I it wasn't worth it for me.
Did you provide that feedback for him?
I did tell him about that there was this specific person that was more of like a bully type.
Mm-hmm.
So I told him about it, and they replaced the head coach with a new coach. So I was like, if you would like, I can explain to you why. And she was like, I'm fine. I don't want to hear any negativity about the teammates. And I'm like, interesting option, but whatever.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, look, when you're dealing with a school like where you're going, it's not Division One, and it is totally quote unquote volunteer. I mean, you don't get any scholarship money for any of that. It's all recreational. I played 4 years of baseball at that school, and I had good coaches. The coaches I worked with were, were very good. So anyway, the negativity about any of these toxic environments, you're going to see it in the working world. All right. I will guarantee you that at one form or another, out of the 44 jobs that I've had since I was 10, um, there were probably half of them that were in environments where there were a number of people. And I would say 2/3 of them had toxic to very toxic environments. The other third were good, and I'd go back and work there again, approximately. I'd have to go back and count those. So these are the kind of moments that you'll be experiencing at different points in your life and in your career, and you say, okay, I've had enough. What am I going to do about it? right? The whole reason for this week is to give you a platform as to how to go about doing what you need to do to get you to move on from a situation like what you're describing. Assume that track coach was your boss while you're doing web development work at Amazon. Just it becomes drudgery to get into work, and everybody else on the line, I'm sure, can relate to that. I certainly can, many more than once. Okay. So again, book a call with me. Scott and Chris sent me UPCs that I realize actually work. And here it is. If you want to set a time with me on Calendly, either tomorrow, or we certainly we'll finish things up tomorrow night or next week. I'm not working on Monday, but anytime next week is also good. And I will say this, I'm just going to put this out there in terms of what it is that I can do for you and what you can expect as it relates to it. Okay. So I talked the other day about what is it like to work with a career coach? Again, it's an investment in your future. It's not really an expense, although it is an expense. It's more of an investment than that. Your opportunity cost, if you're at 100 grand a year, is $400 a day if you happen to be out, or if you're underpaid, like one of the guys, and I hope to be able to do this. I may have to rearrange it, but I do have a testimonial to show you. It's like climbing a mountain with a Sherpa or trying to do it on your own. And let me pop out of this for a second here. And hold on. This is not the one. This is. Now, I'm going to have to, I don't know if you're going to hear this, or I'm just going to play it. But you have to say, hey, you know what? This is more of an opportunity than it is bad news.
Barely.
Okay. What I'm going to do is this. I'm going to put, hold on a second. Which is the way. So, hold on.
I can't hear it. Ah,
Figure this out. Let me see if I can't pull it together. Hold on. By the time we got to the national sales director, who is anyway, sales meeting, you were ready to go. Okay, because you were already past all the stage. What I was stop it there, and I apologize. Chris recommended that I put the link in the chat, which I just did. So you can listen to that at your leisure. And apologies, but this is the guy that I was telling you about that was laid off on March 14th. Called me March 17th, and by April 8th, he had secured the new position, started April 29th. And he had a significant increase in his salary 5 years ago, and he about doubled it again when we were working together, and he thought he was going to be laid off for a significant period of time. So my apologies for my tech unsavviness. The link you have is a messenger link to um, that was sent earlier today by my VA, and I need to upload it to YouTube, which I haven't done yet. So my apologies for the technical uh, inadequacy on it. But the bottom line is I have dozens of people who have testimonials like this, about 15 of them recorded, and I'm putting captions on them and all that stuff right now. So let's go back to,
I'm one of them.
yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. We've worked together, and if you want to comment on that as well, you're more than welcome to.
Oh yeah, you were wonderful. You definitely, I was, I'm very direct. I'm a farmer's daughter. So I would just basically tell people the way it is. I was expecting them to ask me the pertinent questions. None of that happened. And then Bill basically gave me the lay of the land of how it works, which helped a lot, like major.
Cool. Appreciate that.
Yeah, it's true.
And got you to the position you're in now, but you want to move on from there too, which is not uncommon. 2 to 4 years is typical. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to open this back up again, and I will figure out a way to get you a YouTube link with that testimonial in it. And I did the best I could to get the video and all of that, but don't worry about it for now. But if you decide that you wanted to work with me, what you get is soup to nuts. I mean, everything happens until you land, everything you've seen this week and more until you land the job that you're looking for. And includes everything from the initial direction and destination, some of which you have already, some of you have already, developing the value proposition, outreach, interviewing and negotiating. And then at the end, when you land, there are 2 follow-up calls to make sure there's proper onboarding. I've also, with 11 clients in the last 2 years, added a quote unquote leadership aspect to it, which we do have 2 calls a month to make sure that not only is the onboarding going well, but you're making traction. And some people decide to do that or not. It's separate from what I'm going to show you here in the next slide, which is this. If there's a 6-month one-on-one / group program that would normally be, and there's going to be a lot of numbers on this, but I'll wait a minute before you take a screenshot. It's $295 a month for a recent college graduate, or $995 a month for a senior level executive. And today, because you sat through all of this in the last 4 days, it's $250 to $850 a month, which would be, a total of in 6 months would be, and I did the math wrong there, but don't worry about this. The other part, the all-in-one program, which is what you see at the bottom, would normally be $1,500 to $9,800. $1,500 is a sliding scale. There's nobody here that's on the top of that scale, and we'd have to talk separately about what that means. Recent college graduate, $1,500 to $9,800 if you're a senior level executive. Today is $1,200, or if you're a senior executive, $7,500 in full, or 4 installments of $350, or 4 installments of $2,650. Again, there's a sliding scale, and this is stuff that we'd have to talk about. There are a couple of you on here that I've already quoted what that might be, but I'm just giving you the range. When I'm working with somebody who's making $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year, 10 grand is pocket change. 10 grand is what they make in 2 weeks or less. So if you decide that you only want me to do your LinkedIn profile and your resume, that would normally be $495 for a college student and $1,295 for a senior executive. Today, $350 to $995, and half up front and half when you're done. So there really isn't a payment plan associated with that. It's on a project basis. The thing about until you land is it could be a couple of weeks, a couple of months, or a couple of years. And that's where you have my commitment. The vast majority of people who do this kind of work will give you X amount of sessions, X amount of months, or whatever it might be. There's no real stake that they might have in terms of your success. And I'm all about the results. It's the results that matter. It's the outcome that matters. So if this is something that you would be interested in pursuing, again, let's set up an offline conversation and we'll go from there. Any questions as I'm going through it? Here are some common questions. Cost versus value. I would say that the value isn't just for the job that you're about to find now or the career change you're about to make, it's for the rest of your career. And I've seen this happen on numerous occasions. Effectiveness and credibility. How does the program work and how effective is it? I do not have an exact number in terms of the percentage of people that have placed themselves after working with me. I know it's well over 90%. There are some people I lose track of, and when I follow up, I don't get a response. But it's well over 90%. Are you ready to do the work? If you're ready to do the work, we can make a lot of stuff happen pretty quickly. Fear of judgment. Your situation may be, and I've dealt with people like this or, been out of work for 10 years, either raising kids or doing something else, whatever it might be. No judgment on my end. Everything is confidential. Okay. Obviously, we've shared some things here on these calls. Loss of control. Are you then turning it over to me? Absolutely not. I'm basically creating a situation where you're going to have much more control over the outcome than you might have if you were just meandering through the process. Unclear expectations. My expectation is that you land. 2 to 4 months is pretty typical. And embarrassment or stigma. Shouldn't I be able to do this by myself? I will tell you that some of the most famous athletes, actors, musicians, etc., all have coaches, mentors, etc. These are very, very common for people who are elite at what they do. And there's no reason that you can't be in the same circumstance. So those are some of the common concerns. And this offer for anybody who's on this call, and both people who are on tonight and those who have missed, I will follow up with them separately. If you decide this is something that you want to go forward with, Zelle or Venmo is the best way to do it. I do have a Stripe account, but there's a pretty hefty fee in there that goes along with it that I don't want to saddle either one of us with. And Bitcoin, if it's at the right price, we'll put a question mark next to that if it's at the right value. So, and if we're not connected on Facebook or LinkedIn or both, you can certainly connect with me there. I'm rebuilding my LinkedIn profile. I mentioned that to you earlier in the week that I was in LinkedIn jail for a little over 2 years. And again, the homework for tonight, tight answers to these 5 interview questions. If you can answer these 5 questions, you're going to get further down the road in terms of the interview process. Okay, one other client the one that had 4 interviews today, he didn't have a real interview outside his company for over 20 years. He had a couple internal interviews that he had to do, but they already knew him. He already had performance reviews. He already had everything else going on. So if you can answer these questions, you're going to be in the driver's seat. And that's what I have for today. Anybody have thoughts, questions, reactions, etc.?
This was good.
Okay. I'm just opening this up here so I can see everybody. Go ahead.
If we need to talk to you about, a plan, like just basically talk to you for an hour, let's say I need to talk to you for an hour to decide, if I want to do this package or that package. Does that how much would you charge to talk to you about?
There wouldn't be, we wouldn't need an hour, number one. Number two, that would be off the clock. It's only when you say, yes, let's go, we're doing this, whatever this might be, either your resume, LinkedIn profile, or the full program, where there would be any any charge that goes along with it. The majority of people, probably 70% of the people that I've worked with through the years have done a version of this Until You Land program. And it's something that I've morphed several times in 11 years. It took me about 4 to get it right, and then I've made some tweaks to it since. Okay.
Um, Bill,
Yeah,
would you
Chris.
say, so I know I earlier, one of the earlier days I had mentioned like even getting to the interview. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
there's jobs out there, there's the black hole in LinkedIn and these job things.
Mm-hmm.
Do you use a network on your end? Like, do you have contacts that you reach out to on your end versus say, our LinkedIn contacts, or and like leverage that like another network?
Yes and yes, and it depends on what the destination is. Your network is going to be way more powerful than mine. I do have several recruiters that I know that are in different industries, but typically it comes down to people that are in your industry may or not be people that I know. We will iron out who the recruiters are early on. And again, that's only 5 to 10% of your time. Once you've made initial contacts with recruiters, they're going to be having to find you on LinkedIn based on the upgrades that we do to your LinkedIn profile. That's typically how it works. Although it does benefit you in some cases where there's a niche part of your background to seek out recruiters who have specialties in those areas. And they could be anywhere in the country, anywhere in the continent. It can be anywhere in the world these days. I mean, you can work from anywhere. There are some recruiting firms that are absolute top of the line. Korn Ferry is one of them. I've been placed 5 times by recruiters. They can be your biggest asset or they can be your biggest pain in the butt. But you don't know that until you start working with them. You just don't.
I've had lately, and I don't know if this is something new, but in my experience, so when I was younger, earlier in my career, you work
Hmm.
with a recruiter and they would work with you one on one, almost like we're doing now.
Hmm.
Lately, I've talked to a few different recruiters, and it's almost like a one off, like you said, like a 5 minute conversation.
Yeah.
It's like we're looking to basically place not permanent roles, and this is like for me like the creative group.
Hmm.
Based out of Princeton, I just spoke to someone over there. I have a contact over there, and it was just basically like, we'll call you if something comes up. But yeah, I'm not expecting that call. Like,
Let's put it this way. Unless you have people that can circle the wagons for you and they have an assignment that would fit, you're probably right. And this is the power of your network through the years, not just in the last 10 minutes or 10 weeks. Okay. It's the power of your network through the years. And Yasmin, I'm going to have to congratulate you again for laying the groundwork with people in 5 years. Probably half of those people won't even be at Amazon web design. They'll be somewhere else. But if you have their contact information, especially their personal emails or cell phones or both, you'll be able to follow up with them and number one, let them know what you're doing, and see what they're doing. And that's what this is all about. I mean, in some cases, people put their nose to the grindstone and they just ignore networking. And it's very easy to do. You get wrapped up in the job that you're doing, you get wrapped up in the company and the projects and everything else, and you're not looking outside of where you are until you need to. And it's one of those things, like they say, pump the well before you need the water. So you may be right. The Creative Group, I'm familiar with them in Princeton, Chris. Okay. They're a well-known agency. There are several in Philadelphia, and of course, there are dozens in New York. And there are a lot more of them in New Jersey. I mean, after COVID, a lot of these companies just said, why are we paying, these exorbitant rental rates for office space in New York City? And they've moved out. So, again, I don't know yet what the right target audience is for you. I've worked with people who have similar backgrounds as you, and I've also worked as an account person in an agency situation, account supervisor for a medical ad agency. So I know the territory. not from your perspective as well as you do, but I've had several clients who have creative director background in one form or another, either copy or art direction or both. And these are people I can put you in touch with. So whoever I know, assume you will know. Okay. And in some cases, that's a very lengthy list. In some cases, it's a handful of people. Some cases, it's none. But the whole thing is we will go about the process of determining who the quote unquote target people are, target companies, geographies, if that's appropriate. In this case, it probably isn't because you want to stay in the area that you are now, correct? Yeah. Okay. Betty,
I mean,
James?
from
Oh, I'm
from
sorry. Go ahead, Chris. Go ahead. Yeah.
no, from a living standpoint, yes, but I'm a little bit more open now than I probably may have been in the past.
Okay.
But COVID changed everything, so
100%. 100%. And we've had this conversation before too. You're worth a lot more than what you're being compensated with right now. And as the benefit, like you were saying earlier in the week, the benefit structure does not really um, provide you with what you and your family need. And these are the kind of things that, from a company standpoint, they know that it's a competitive marketplace for talent as well. The same way that you're competing against others for the jobs, they're competing against other companies for the candidates. James, Betty, any thoughts? Mystery iPhone user? Not so much. Okay. Yeah, I mean, this is what it's all about. I mean, what we're going to cover tomorrow is going to be a wrap up of what we've done in the first 4 days and some resilience and motivation related stuff, which some of you may already have and don't need, but I find this to be very constructive and productive, particularly when you're going through job search and there's a lot of up and down moments during the course of it. And we'll go through those and how to manage your own emotional, intellectual, physical health to get you to the best possible destination. Any other thoughts, comments, questions, complaints about the rain up in the Northeast, whatever, anything? Yeah.
I just wanted to ask Chris, what kind of job are you looking for? You're looking for art director? Is that it?
yeah, I mean, I'm a creative director right now, but I am open to an associate creative director, senior art director. I'm open to like a couple, any director position is really what I'm looking for right now.
Because I just sent a position to one of my former art directors. Piping Rock is a company that is looking for an art director, just so you know.
Okay.
Piping
Yeah.
Rock. Yeah,
Feel free to put your contact info in the chat here while we're still on, or
Oh.
I can share it with you
I don't know how to do that.
separately. Just pull the chat up and then
Oh, here we are. Okay.
James, Betty, any thoughts, comments?
Hi, sorry, I'm driving. No, I mean, you're right on the money with everything that you're saying. So you have to have added value in the
Okay.
position. Why did you
You're breaking up a little bit. We heard value and then that was all I heard.
because your position
Still breaking up. Didn't hear any of that.
is so you bring the value, but if it's a sales position,
The handful of words that we're hearing, it sounds like it's good. I just can't get enough of it based on, again, you're breaking up. I don't know if you're in a dead zone or whatever.
I know I'm in the car.
Okay.
can comment on it.
This is the blessing and the curse of technology. But all right, James, any thoughts? I know you were driving there a little earlier too. He may not be with us either way. Okay. So again, you all have my information. You know how to reach me. You want to set up a call for tomorrow, over the weekend, or even Tuesday, feel free to do it. We'll cover a lot more stuff. We'll wrap things up for the first 4 days and a few other things that I want to put in there, again, related to how to navigate logistically and emotionally through job search or career change. And Chris and Irina, you both have what you need based on the chat.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay. All right.
Go for it, Chris. Hopefully it'll work out.
Yes, I'll look into it.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see you all tomorrow night. Thanks again and have a good evening.
You too. Thank you, Bill. It was really
Okay.
great.
Yes.
Okay.